Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Legacies. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with, obviously Lizzie getting the news first and foremost about what happened to Alaric, and it could have been a lot worse, which I guess, like, this outcome's not a happy outcome anyway, but to see how far Hope went to the point, like, she beat the crap out of Alaric, and, you know, she did damage that not even vampire healing can do anything about, is the human brain. Like, his brain is swelling and even bleeding later on because of what she did. And that's the thing, you're immediately like, because of Alaric's situation, like, if he doesn't get better, like, Hope will never forgive herself. It's already bad enough with the Landon thing, but it's like, right, doing this to the man that, yeah, you've had your ups and downs with, but he's the closest thing you've had to a father since, you know, your actual father, so. But, Lizzie, Joe, I mean, it's like, just when everything, like, you know, Joe and Finch are together, but then obviously, Joe's, like, happy moment kind of takes a dive the moment this happens, so, and they need MG's help. Caleb and Cleo go as well, especially when they find out what happened, because Caleb wants to make up for everything, which Cleo knows, like, yeah, first and foremost, like, our friends forgave me for me trying to kill Hope, so it's like, they found a way to forgive me. Same thing for you. Like, once they heard my story, it allowed them to forgive me, so all you have to do is be honest with your friends and allow them to hear your side of things. So, especially because it's like, right, he just didn't, like, he just wanted to, like, save the person that he loves, Cleo, so it's a story that anyone can understand of, like, right, he made a choice that, yeah, like, he regrets. A lot of people, I mean, even Alaric wasn't too hard on, because it's like, yeah, I've made mistakes for love too, so, like, that's why he wasn't too hard on Caleb about it. So, how can I judge you for something I've done time and time again? But, because they don't know it was Hope that did this, so, and it doesn't seem like vampire blood can do anything to help him under these circumstances, so, because at first I was like, could it be something like Hope did to him? It's like, no, just like the damage to his brain isn't something that the blood can, like, fix other parts of the body, it can't fix any damage to the brain. I mean, because, you know, even no matter what you do, whether it's magic or anything like that, there are always going to be limitations, and even if there aren't limitations, there will always be dark sacrifices needed for something of that nature. But I think that's going to be something, sadly, Lizzie and Josie might learn the hard way in their journey to try and save their dad. In particular, Lizzie's kind of taken upon herself more so than anything to be the one to bring their dad back. But the moment they go inside his brain, because they didn't want Caleb's help at all, so Caleb and Cleo were going to look for Hope, because they're like, right, we need to find her, because at the time they didn't know that she was the one responsible. But inside of Alaric's head, they end up seeing the memory of what Hope did to him, and it being a message that, like, right, don't come after me, like, even our friends, or they will end up dead. And obviously for Lizzie, it's like, I'm glad Hope isn't here, because if she was, I'd kill her myself. And even Josie's like, I don't even think that'd be possible, but also, I don't think you mean that. That's the sad thing of, like, where the journey of their relationship has been, the up and down, and just, like, they were, especially after last season, they were in a good spot. It's like, no, we're here for each other. I mean, even the day before the episode before last, that was supposed to be kind of like her final day as herself before, like, she became a vampire. They were together, and they were kind of like that group that they were, you know. This sisters, this, like, sisterhood, and to have that all kind of down the drain now. But it turns out their dad's consciousness or whatever is still active, and he's moving on the move, and so they follow him from memory to memory. The next memory was like one of their birthdays, where literally everyone got invited except for Hope. And I even love Lizzie's like, did we really invite Wade? It's like, Lizzie, focus. But, like, it was just a back and forth between spells. They bounced everywhere, stuff caught fire, she turned the worm to cake. It's a whole, everything went wrong. And then, like, Lizzie never got to hear what was said to Hope, so she ends up going there thinking like, yes, I'm so excited to listen to this. But their dad was a lot not as reprimanding as she was hoping. Also, once again, I don't know why I like that so much, that the actress who played Hope in the youngest version of Hope in the originals, obviously she popped up for an episode last season, and just seeing her play a younger Hope again in this, I'm like, I don't know why, I think that's so cool. Because it's also kind of crazy, because it's like, man, it's one of those weird things when you see kid actors grow up in front of you on screen, because it's like, man, you're definitely older, and it's like, you can tell, and it's like, what? It's crazy, it's weird. Because like, man, I remember seeing you as a little kid on the originals, and now it's like, look at you, you're older now. It's kind of throws you for a loop, kind of, at least for me. But regardless, I just thought it was, but it wasn't the reprimand that it's like, right, like, what am I supposed to do, like, when Lizzie and Josie, like, are mean to me? It's like, well, you got to be stronger than him, because you are stronger than him. Not what Lizzie or Josie wanted to hear in that moment, especially considering all that Hope does. It's like, cool. So Hope, it's like, oh, get celebrate. He's like, oh, let's go off somewhere to this little art thing. It's like, yeah, art reminded her of her dad, and it's like, oh, can we get ice cream? Sure. It's like, not the type of, the juxtaposition of like, the Hope we just saw doing what she did to our dad to this memory. It's like, oh, and obviously for Lizzie, it's like, cool, our dad's going down memory lane about stuff about Hope. Really? She did all this to you, and but then they go to a memory where their dad didn't want Hope to come to the school. It's like, she is her father, and like, Emma's the one that was like, no, but like, yeah, it may be something we end up regretting, but we might regret not trying, not trying, we might regret that even more. And so I thought that was so fascinating. But just like, because even they were like, oh, like, our dad would do anything for Hope, and it's like, wait, he wasn't all about her coming to this school. It's like, the school was supposed to be mainly built for like his children, and it's like, if Hope comes to this school, they'll be in danger. It's like, no, like, she's, once again, her father's track record, but also considering who she is. Like, your father for a long time was one, because he was the only hybrid, and we see how that helped. I mean, it didn't help him being in a Michelson, being an original, plus on top of that being a hybrid. But also the fact is that she may be one of them, like, now as a tribrid, she is potentially the strongest being in existence. So it's like, yeah, she's too much of a danger, which we never did get to see the outcome of that memory. I wonder if there was more to it, because like, Emma turned something, she's like, oh, Rick, how you doing? It's like, well, Hope's not going to come in at the end, but I'm like, I wonder was there something else there. But they get pulled out because it turns out like Alaric had a stroke, and it's not good. That something could happen. So Lizzie's the only one that went in. Joe wanted to make sure at least one of them stayed outside in case something went wrong, and so because MG knew like the only way they could find Alaric is if they got ahead of him. He knew exactly what memory Alaric would be going to, and at least what would be like at least one of the last trips, and it's him going in reverse of like, he ends up going back to the day that they were born. Which obviously is a complicated time considering everything that, it's like, right, everything that went down with your mom. It's just like what we were dealing with at the time. It was a lot. Like, I think I think he was saying that Lizzie was siphoning off of Josie at the time or something of that nature. So it's like, it was a complicated birth. But for him, his biggest apology is like, sometimes I prioritized Hope over even being headmaster over being your father. And it's like, the reason why he changed his mind about Hope is because he hoped, like, as powerful as Hope was, she'd be here. He's like, I envisioned you guys being friends, being a family, like, that you could compensate for what she didn't have at that time, that you provide. That's why he pushed so hard for that, because he knew as powerful as she is, at the very least, she could protect his daughters. If he ever failed or if he ever made a mistake, they'd have each other. That's why he pushed this so hard, because to be where they are, at least before this moment, is what he was going for. That's what he always hoped for, that, if I'm not around, Hope will be there to protect you and kind of pick up the slack where I may have failed. And to understand, like, right, like, that's what this has all been about. Like, at the heart, every decision he's ever made has been for his daughters. But, Hope kind of, initially she served one purpose, but then eventually she did become more like family to him. She did become like a daughter to him. And it's like, yeah, I did prioritize her sometimes because I did care about her just like you. But at the heart of it all, Lizzie and Josie have always been in his mind. Every decision he's ever made. Once again, the school was built because Lizzie and Josie. Yeah, other kids came along, but it was mainly made so that they'd have a place that they could fit in. And he's apologizing to them. He's like, even you, Milton, like, I may have, like, put you in the greatest danger of all, but obviously, like, you guys in the greatest danger of all, like, by creating these circumstances. But, MG is like, yeah, I don't need your forgiveness, but if it's what you need to be at peace, then I forgive you. But Lizzie's like, no, like, if it means you walking off into some light, then no, I don't forgive you. Like, you're not just going to walk away, you know? But for Alaric, it's like, I want you to be there for you and your sister. I want you to be there for each other, protect each other, promise me that. And then the room goes dark. So his body's stable, but his mind is gone, so... And it doesn't seem like it's a thing where he's brain dead. It's just like the lights are kind of off. It's kind of how it seems. So it's like maybe they can turn the lights back on. Maybe he's lost in the darkness of his own mind. He's somewhere that they can't reach him, somewhere in the back of his subconscious that maybe they can't reach. And obviously there's that hard conversation between Lizzie and Josie, because like Josie's like, I actually wanted you to stay and I wanted to go, but I didn't tell you how I feel because that's what I always do. I have a hard time seeing like how I really feel, which even Lizzie's like, I'm sorry, I'm selfish. She's like, I know I don't admit that a lot, but the fact is I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm going to find a way to bring Dad back, you know? So, because I think it is a side in themselves that they both have their issues of just, you know, she can be selfish and she can be like, oh, like, keep her real feelings bottled up, not tell people how she's really feeling. But when they come out, the entire, you know, school's there in solidarity with them, because obviously what the Salvatore school means to them, what them, because this was actually Fitch and Ethan's idea, because both of them want to be there for their respective Saltzman sister that they're into. Which we got some interesting insight into, because Ethan didn't know what his ability was, which I thought was fascinating, because I was like, because last episode I was like, it definitely did seem like it was more than just invisibility. I think it seems like his ability might be phase shifting, like he can phase it, because it did seem like I was like, it almost seemed like you were teleporting, like when you did what you did. I guess you could just be running, but it seems like, it does seem like you're just popping in. So I think it's like he's phasing in and out of like, because, like, while he was lifting up the weight, his hands were vanishing. If they were just, like, if you're just going invisible, then, like, why would that, like, fall back like that? So I think he can phase in and out. Like, maybe he can change, like, the frequency of his body, kind of like a flash thing of, like, his molecules can move so fast that he can phase through stuff. So what we're seeing is him kind of phasing into, like, and maybe that'll be a big point going forward. Like, maybe he can, like, if push comes to shove. His dark materials, it's like the knife that can cut through the dimensions. Like, maybe he can almost do that. He can you know, once again, a great example would be like the Flash. Like, move your molecules so fast you can phase through stuff. So maybe he's phasing in and out of reality, maybe, and that's what whatever the case may be. It definitely seems like there's more to it, which I also love that it's like, cool. I love that he was like, yeah, this place is... MG's like, yeah, you can move into this until you find like a permanent room. But he's like, yeah, people who've been, he's like, you know, football players, like, we're superstitious, and, you know, there are threes. There's 3 deaths associated with it. He's like, well, Raphael isn't dead. He's still alive. Granted, he's just in a different dimension. Sort of, you know, so his situation's complicated. This belonged to Stefan Salvatore, a vampire. Well, he's dead. And it was Landon's, who's also dead now. So it's like, yeah, 3 previous people, and you're like, I wouldn't like that trend either. Of like, yeah, I probably don't want to stay in this room. You probably don't want to stay in that room. So we'll see how things kind of shake up from there. But at the same time, you had like Cleo and Caleb solidify their pact of kind of like where things kind of go, because it's like, obviously, I was like, oh, it's a first date. Like, obviously, it's like the whole thing. I'm like, yeah, we kind of laugh to kind of hide our pain, you know, to stop ourselves from crying. So, but I think it is a thing of like, this has made a shift in Lizzie and Josie, and I'm curious like how much of an effect that's going to have going forward with the whole Hope situation, because they know to stay away from Hope. Because the initial thought was like, don't tell anyone that it was Hope that did this, because we don't want to take the chance our friends might try to save them. So MG knows the truth, but I don't know if they told anyone else, because they might tell everyone just for the purpose of, don't go towards Hope. She's not in a good place right now. she's not the best person right now, and so we'll probably have to wait till the next episode to really get an insight of like how they currently feel, because we didn't really get. They were mainly dealing with the whole Alaric thing, so Hope wasn't there. But it's like Josie might want to do it just for the sake of like it's what her dad would want. Maybe Lizzie would too, but it's also just like her anger towards Hope. Like, you know, it's like, yeah, like you've done stuff in the past, but this is the most egregious thing that Hope's ever done, you know? So that's definitely going to complicate that them being there for each other, this family that they've built going forward. But we did see like Lizzie put her hand on Caleb, like, I forgive you, because once again, it wasn't even like one of Malivor's monsters that did it. It was Hope. I mean, him doing what he did actually was trying to stop Hope from doing this, but still. But I think it's also like right to, you know, because also like he cares about like Alaric too, and he wouldn't want this to happen. And just now knowing like, right, it was Hope and not one of Malivor's monsters, but it's also like, right, I think it's just in a situation of like, right, we gotta kind of forgive each other, we gotta stick together in this, because this family is kind of currently all we have, you know, with my dad being in the state that he's in. So we'll see what happens going forward. But other than that, we had Hope kind of having her fun, and lo and behold, who steps in? Auntie Rebecca, which that's the thing I got spoiled about, which I was kind of bummed. Like, once again, I gotta ignore those Google alerts. I can't help it, because it's like, once again, it's nerd-related stuff, because like, the most recent one I saw was like, oh, some huge details came out about Captain America 4. I didn't look into it, it was just the title of it, but it's like, I just need to ignore those, because I wish I went into this not knowing that she was gonna be here. Now, whether she's gonna be, I think, the way it made it sound like it isn't just gonna be like a one-off like Freya has been, but to be fair, like that's because Riley Vocal's like also doing something else at the time, Hightown, so like that it's probably a scheduling reason why we don't get her a lot. I don't know if Claire Holt's doing anything else like currently, so I don't know if like her schedule is open enough to do like I think this might be a recurring thing throughout this season. At least she'll be in maybe a couple episodes. I don't think we're done, especially with Hope's circumstances being what they are, but we'll see. But Auntie Rebecca, and I love this, like, oh, it's like, she doesn't want you. You're right. You're right. I am a fancy bitch, and turn that music off, because country music is garbage. I love that. Even forget this ever happened, but also continue remembering how awful country music is. It's like, wow, Rebecca. I love it. But it's like, Auntie Rebecca. So it's like, yeah, let's have fun. But obviously she's pulling, which also is interesting, because it's like, right, she's still, I think it speaks volumes, the fact that she's still a vampire, which makes you wonder about her and Marcellus. Like, obviously I haven't touched on that yet. Well, I think the actor who plays Marcellus was in, I think the most recent thing, like, I haven't seen the show, but I just saw a thumbnail, and I was like, oh, I didn't know he was in that. I think it was, there was something I saw him in more recently, wasn't it? I don't remember. I saw a glimpse of him in something. But no, like the show Younger, yes, but like there was something else. Like I'd seen him in. I felt like it was something more recent, but maybe not. Maybe it was something older. I'd seen him in. Regardless, but she was trying to, yeah, because she was like, it's like, yeah, I'm trying to be the cool aunt. Please don't tell me I'm in old. Did I use that right? It's like, yeah, you did, Aunt Rebecca. It's like, it's like, yeah, because she's always been like the young hip aunt, and it's like, oh, now am I old? It's like, once again, it's like, ew, you're like 30 something. Oh, aren't you? You might as well be dead. It's once again, I love that perspective in things. I just think it's the funniest thing, because it's like, oh, you're like practically in your grave. You're like 30 something, but it was all for the purpose of like, right, I'm pretending like everything's fine, like I'm having fun with you, but it's like, yeah, I knew this vampire experience would be overwhelming, but it's like, right, you can't understand my situation, because it's like, right, your humanity got flipped off. And we did get full clarity for it. So that's what I was confused about. I was like, wait, did she turn it off? Because she said the moment she killed Landon, it turned off. So I was like, did she do that subconsciously? Or is it just like, was the emotional shock so much that her body did it on its own? That's so interesting to me, because like you've never really heard of like a vampire turning off their humanity kind of just like automatically. Like that's very unique. Maybe it's a byproduct of being a tribrid. I mean, considering all that she's ever been through, plus killing a person she loved, like feeling that guilt and responsibility and heartbreak, like that overwhelmed her system. So maybe she did it subconsciously to protect herself, or maybe it's just a byproduct, because maybe she felt like I don't deserve to feel love, all these emotions, because maybe just like somewhere her brain tries to rationalize it, because it's like, yeah, me being the way I have been has led to trouble in the past, and maybe that's what I don't know. I'm curious. I just thought that was so fascinating of a line, which obviously in moments like this, it's when she's super like Klaus. So it's like, right, because obviously Rebecca's been, I've been a vampire for 1,000 years, so I know this lane of things better than anyone. I mean, your father, but it's like, obviously for Hope, it's like, that's the problem too. It's like her dad, it's like, yeah, love and all that got in the way, and that's why did dad kill himself? For family, for me, and so for her, it's like, I'm not going to be tied down by that, because it's like, that, all of that love, family, all that, it's an anchor that will bind you down. She doesn't want to be bound by it anymore. Granted, once again, she's only had this perspective because her humanity's off. I did like that Rebecca's like, right, I am a hypocrite, because it's like, being a vampire, there's certain things that you can live every aspect of life, but there's certain aspects you can never have as a vampire. She's like, and when Klaus and Haley had you, I was envious of them. So she's like, but I can give you the cure, if it means, saving you from yourself and becoming this. Because she no longer needs to be the Tribrid now that Malivore is gone. But granted, it is her birthright. It's only a matter of time for this to happen. So it's like, granted, she needs to stay what she is. I mean, granted, we've had plenty of people back away from what they were, and become like, human or whatever the case may be. I mean, granted, there was like the whole Travelers thing, which kind of reversed. Like Tyler, for example, became like a human again because of that. Which also made me think about, like, all right, let's not forget Damon like killed Tyler in the final season because of the sirens and everything. But nevertheless, I'm going on another tangent. I was thinking about that. Just thinking about like how full dark side a lot of stuff has been over the course of this series, and how rampant some people ran at certain points throughout the series, especially without humanity, and even those who are under different circumstances, like Damon and his buddy were in the final season. But once again, tangents and all that aside, I did think it was interesting that it's like, right, I am a hypocrite because I am doing to you what your dad has done to me, as well as the rest of our siblings, time and time again. But because she is the Tribrid, it didn't stick. I think, I'm trying to remember, like, did it ever affect Klaus like that? I think it did, from my recollection. I don't remember if it was a thing of, like, because he was a Tribrid, I mean, he was a hybrid, like, it didn't work as well. I don't remember if that was the case or not. I mean, to be fair, like, there were other circumstances that kept him, like, he was bound by Marcellus for, like, that 5-year period in between season 3 and 4. No, that was 4 and 5. Never. No, it was 3 and 4. It was 3 and 4 now I'm thinking of. Never lie. But regardless, it turns out that there was a vampire working at the bar who works for Triad, which isn't just like an organization. You can't just stop the organization because, like, yeah, the organization's going, but at the top of it is 3: a vampire, a witch, and a werewolf. And I'm like, they're going to be from, like, one of them is going to be a familiar face, the way they make it. The person Hope is talking to, whatever they are, it's going to be some... I mean, it's just like, because that's what Triad started as the 3 supernatural groups coming together to stop Malivore. So, of course, like, they'd still be... whoever they are... Well... no, it had to be that the witch is, like... the witch and the wolf, it has to be like their descendants, but I'm assuming it's the same vampire. I don't remember they were focused on who the vampire was. Not unless different people have taken up position. I would think so with the werewolf and the witch, that is descendants, but I would assume not unless the vampire had to choose a successor or something like that. But it definitely, because it's like, yeah, it definitely seems like it's going to be someone significant because they are sort of hiding it, so that's definitely going to be an interesting reveal. But at the end of it all, Hope made it clear of, like, she's done with all of that. It's like, right, this necklace is enchanted. That's how you were able to find me. That's Freya enchanted it. So here, take it. Always and forever, right? You're like, oh, don't throw that back at her. It's like the Michelson family mantra. Don't throw it at her like that. She kind of leaves Rebecca behind and she bounces. And so she's going after the people who are after her, because that's what this is all about, an organization that views her the same way they viewed Malivore. It's like, you're the most powerful being, you have to be stopped. I mean, once again, it's like, your mom mainly did it because your aunt was after you, but your aunt did it because of what you are. So it's like, well, not your aunt, your dad's aunt, your aunt's aunts. Esther's, and wasn't Esther their mom's name? Like her sister. So, yeah. That's definitely going to be interesting, because it's like, right, Malivor's out of the way. Now let's meet our new main antagonist of the series. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see what the Salvatore school does going forward. I mean, I'm assuming Dorian would come back to fit the mold, fill the void there, or someone else will. I don't know. There's also this situation I think is kind of interesting too. It's like, well, MG and Ethan did have that conversation about, like, right, it's like, you are the other guy. He's like, oh, he's like, yeah. Eventually there will be a point where MG tells Lizzie how he really feels, and it's like, where do we stand in? And Ethan's like, he's like, well, we'll jump off that cliff when we get there, but he's like, till before then, and hopefully afterwards, no matter which way this plays out, hopefully we're still gonna be best buds. So when you look at that, almost, it's not a 1-for-1, but you almost look at it as almost like the Damon, Stefan, and Elena thing. Granted, that played out one way, and I think it played out for obviously, like, Damon and Elena, obviously Stefan and Caroline, which I never saw that coming, but I thought that was just like, I was like, honestly, I'm behind that relationship 100%. Stefan and granted, once again, that had its bumpy roads as well, which complicated things between Alaric and Caroline as well. But still, I really dug that one that originally. I think, didn't they officially get together in like season 4 maybe? I don't remember. I want to say it might have been around season 4 that they, at least that budding romance and that potentially being a thing started, I believe. I could be mistaken. But nevertheless, I'm excited to see where the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.